Hello everybody, and welcome back to Fallout Equestria. Now where we last left off, Little Pip got a new perk from doing a little quest that involved going to a vault, or also known as a stable, where they encountered the grisly, unfortunate accident of what happened to the vault dwellers of, I believe it was Vault 24, where they encountered some... Oh, whoa, well, that was weird. Hello. Where they encountered some sort of snake animal chimeras with very dangerous venom. I also included some ambiance this time. Please let me know if that's too loud. I wanted to make this a little bit more than just my voice, because I feel like that makes these pretty boring. Well, I would imagine for most folks. So hi everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the party. We are going to be doing quite a bit more reading today. Probably 3 chapters, most likely. But yeah, Little Pip has made a couple new friends now in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. We met a ghoul named Ditsy Doo, aka Derpy. So Derpy is a ghoul and they survived, confirmed. So that's gonna be fun. So without further ado, I'm just gonna start reading this, cause we might do 3 chapters today. Chapter 6, The Truth of the Matter. Folks, let me know if you can hear the music, okay? Hello, my name is Scootaloo! You probably know me since I am pretty famous for my awesome performances at events, the last year's Gallops, or maybe just as the founder of Red Racer. None of which means a damn anymore. Of course, if you're hearing this, that means Omega level threat protocols have been enacted and you are now... Ah, damn it. Sorry. Okay, right now I'm talking to you as Vice President of Stable Tech. You have been appointed as Overmare, or in the case of Stable 24, Overstallion, of a Stable Tech life-preserving stable. You have been chosen for your sense of loyalty and duty, both to the ponies around you and to this company. And while the Stable Tech HQ might be, probably is, nothing but blasted rubble now, our ideals live on. Your stable has been selected to participate in a vital social project. The first goal of your stable, like any other, is to save the lives of the ponies inside. But you also have a higher purpose beyond saving the lives of individual ponies. We here at Stable Tech understand that it doesn't do ponykind any good to save ourselves now, only to annihilate each other later. We must figure out where we went wrong. We must find a better way, and we must be ready to implement it as soon as possible. Once the stable doors open, and survive what our current leaders have managed to do to Equestria. Damn it. I really hope no pony ever has to hear this. Can't this all just be for nothing? They're really going to destroy us all, aren't they? I'm sorry. Again, I'm totally off script. Where was I? Oh yeah, in short, Stable Tech is working to ensure a more stable society for future generations. Inside the safe in your office, you will find a set of special instructions and objectives, as well as details on how your specific stable has been fitted to carry out your part. If, at any point, you believe that your part in the project is threatening the safety and security of the ponies in your charge, as a whole, you are to cease participation and take any necessary steps to rectify the situation. In any other circumstances, however, it is crucial that you keep to the directives provided and keep Stable Tech appraised of all results as per your sealed instructions. Thank you. From all of us. From all of Equestria. Okay. So that was an interesting start. Not the message I had been expecting. Now my feelings about the stables were completely twisted up in my head, and I just wanted to forget about them entirely. Away with the old, embrace the new, right? I clopped my hoof on the counter again. Apple whiskey. Another of your specials, please. Apple whiskey. The bartending unicorn who owned and ran Turnpike Tavern poured me another glass. Then as I watched, he lined up 7 apples on the counter. Beautiful golden apples, quite unlike the pale and flavorless ones back at home, and waved his horn over them, magically transforming them one by one into bottles of the most delicious, pain-numbing, mind-easing fermented apple beverage. Besides me, Calamity clopped his hooves on the floor in applause, and several mares in the tavern let up a whoop. Oh man. Don't know why I was surprised, I half-whispered, leaning near Calamity. Your leader is a stallion, after all. Calamity's ears perked up, and he gave me a look of shocked confusion. My leader? I don't have a leader. I couldn't tell whether he sounded more offended or worried. I hoof-waved. I heard him over the sprite bot when it wasn't being Watcher. Calamity looked at me with deeper confusion and then broke into a too riotous laugh. What? Red Eye? He turned to the rest of the bar. Hey every pony, Lil Pip here thought Red Eye was our leader. The whole tavern joined in on the laughter. Good goodness. Good goddess, girl. Cried one of the mares down the counter from us. Red Eye ain't nothing but a puffed up prancer. Hell, I don't even listen to that broadcast now, not when DJ's on the dial. Huh? Yup, agreed a buck from a nearby table as he gathered a pile of bottle caps from his cross-looking companions, many of whom were looking at colorful squares in disgust. Just let old Red Eye try and come out here and make New Appaloosa part of his so-called new world. I'll personally take all his unity and brotherhood and shove it right up his... Just steal. The pony next to him interrupted grumpily. So, I fought to shove new facts into the puzzle I was building in my head. The drinks were great for forgetting, but not so great for thinking. The not Watcher voice on the sprite bod is Red Eye, and he's not your leader. What's this Watcher stuff? The mare closest to me asked. Those sprite bots are just radios. Red Eye can't actually watch ponies through them. They ain't cameras. She turned to Calamity. I mean, could you imagine if he could? Okay, now that I knew wasn't true. But apparently the fact those sprite bots can be used to spy wasn't common knowledge. Watcher had tipped me off to something. One of the bucks from down the counter called out, Hey, Apple Whiskey. Oh my god, Wispy. Oh my gosh. Hey, Apple Whiskey, put DJ on. Apple Whiskey looked up to a brown box on the top one of the shelves, which had wires running to speakers throughout the Turnpike Tavern. With a slight glow of his horn, the radio turned on, and a beautiful mare's voice, possibly the sweetest I'd ever heard, or at least a close second to Velvet Remedies, began to pour out of the speakers. How did this happen? What have I done? I was only trying to help, but I caused so much pain. I wish I could hide, wish I could run. I wish I could find a way to do it all over again. The voice and the song she sang was so solemn and sad and filled with determination that it made my mind go to unhappy places. I soon felt like crying and had to force myself not to. I figured more drink would help, so I finished mine and clopped for another. I lost sight of the war while fighting my battles, and now I carry the weight of the world on my saddle. Oh, this was unbearable. My heart was breaking, and I wasn't even sure why. I grasped at a distraction. DJ? Who is DJ? The answer came fast, almost too fast to keep up with. It seemed every pony in the tavern had something to say. DJ Pone 3, of course. There's always a DJ Pone 3. Best music in the equestrian wasteland. Yeah, all what, 12 songs? 20? He's a ghoul pony. Been around forever. No, he's not. They keep changing. Back when I was a filly, DJ was a mare. Whoa. Whoa. Oh my goodness. I hear he's a Pegasus. He's got a station up in the clouds. That's how he always knows everything what's going on. That's stupid. Every pony knows DJ Pon 3's station came out of 10 Pony Tower in the Manhattan ruins. He is too a ghoul pony. He's been around since before the war. I heard the original DJ Pon 3 was actually a mare named Vinyl Scratch, who was killed when the Zebra Balefire wiped Manhattan, but her nephew was spared, being in 10 pony and all, and took up the mantle. I heard it was her sister. My head was spinning. Calamity was smirking at me, leaning close. He whinnied, "There's always a DJ Pon 3. And in the background, the voice of seemingly infinite beauty and chaos. Hold on. Infinite beauty and sadness cried out, "How can I fix this? How many times must I try? Please this time, let me get it right." The music died away and a voice came over the radio. "This is DJ Pon 3. And that was Sweetie Belle singing about that one great truth of the wasteland. Every pony has done something they regret. And now, my little ponies, it's time for the news. Now you ponies remember when I told you about those 2 ponies who crawled themselves out of stable 2? Well, I've been getting reports that one of those little ponies took out the raider nest in the heart of Ponyville and saved several pony captives, including the beloved author of the Wasteland Survival Guide, Ditsy Doo. Hey kid, thanks from all of us." And now the weather. Cloudy everywhere with a chance of rain, gunfire, and bloody dismemberment. I didn't really hear the rest. I was too stunned. I was on the radio. DJ Pon 3 was talking about me. My heart mixed with pride and panic, the latter quickly swallowing the former. I'd have been outside less than a week, and I already had a reputation that was spreading across all of Equestrian Wasteland. A reputation that built me up into some pony far more heroic and capable than I actually was. One last thing, the other stable dweller was last seen out near Appaloosa. My prayers go out to that one, and that's the truth of the matter. Now, back to the music. Here's Sapphire Shores singing how the sun can't hide forever. From your lips to Celestia's ears. Sapphire! For a moment, everything seemed to stop. What? I turned to Calamity. Near Appaloosa? I thought this was Appaloosa. Calamity snickered, still not done having fun with me over my wasteland ignorance. No way, little Pip. This here's New Appaloosa. You can't have a new without having an old now, can ya? Then he quickly got serious. Now you don't want to be going anywhere near old Appaloosa, you hear me? That's a slaver town. Oh my god. Apple Whiskey interrupted. Well, there's no harm going up that way to trade. I sell a good bit of my trademark apple whiskey to those folks. I was stunned. Surely you wasn't kidding. You trade with slaver ponies? Yup. In fact, got a train headed out that way on the morrow. I looked about with disbelief. You trade with slavers? Calamity whispered in my ear, "Why you think I never took up living here? It wasn't a question." Holy cow. Hi everybody. Now that we've reached the end of the page, I can chat with you folks for a quick second here. Goodness gracious. This here, this is not an AU. This is a fanfic of Fallout Equestria. Alright, I'm just gonna take a quick drink break here, and I'll continue reading the rest of this. Like the good old wasteland. I will say, this story may contain topics that are not suitable for all audiences. Gore, possibly adult stuff, I have no clue. We'll just have to see what happens. I'm going to skip some of the former, just in case, because I don't want to be going into that. I don't think there is, but I have also no clue what I'm going to get into. But yeah. This is Fallout, after all. Next morning, I found myself out in the continuing downpour, staring at the train, and feeling not a little guilty that I spent the last evening helping load the flat cars as part of my training with Crane. That evening would have gone a bit differently had I known where these goods were headed. I can't talk you out of this, can I? Calamity stood next to me, checking the loads on his battle saddle. My head was thudding dully, the aftermath of too much apple whiskey, but I was thinking clearly. I knew this was foolish, but where there were slavers, there were slaves in need of rescue. I knew part of me was just trying to live up to my overblown reputation, but I'd also been a captive of slavers, if for only a few hours, and I couldn't just ignore the fact that there were ponies up there who needed somebody to care enough to try and help them. No. Well then, I'm coming with ya. Always wanted to take a shot at that damn place. Figure if there's two of us, might actually have a chance. His words left me feeling immensely relieved. I'll talk to Ditsy Doo for supplies. Don't want none of us to run out of ammo up there, or food. We can't take the train up the mountains and out over the desert, but chances are we'll be trotting back. I mulled that over and suddenly realized that even if we had our own supplies, what about any ponies we rescued? And would they be in the state to make that kind of trip? Not that such questions deterred me at all, but I'd have to find a way to talk the ponies pulling the train to wait for us, as we robbed the town they were trading with, no less. I voiced my concern to Calamity. You're gonna have to do some fast talking if you want to convince them or anything like that, he replied, then seemed to have an idea. I know some pony in town that just might have what you need to pull that off. Calamity trotted off, leaving me staring at the train once again. While I waited, I tried to familiarize myself with the train. Flat cars, box cars held supplies, passenger cars, of which this train had only one, were for carrying ponies, the fancy red car on the back, and the big bronze one with the smokestack which rode at the front were mysteries. I knew nothing about the former, and the latter I only recognized from a similar train car in the hodgepodge construction of absolutely everything. Curious, I asked one of the polar ponies what those cars were for. He was happy to answer. That there back one, it's called the caboose. He pointed towards the red car in the rear. That has the brakes. You see, when we go up the mounds, we have to keep switching out polar teams, cause that there's hard work. One team pulls, one team rides and keeps a lookout for raiders. But when we go down the mountain, every pony rides, and we use the brakes to keep us from going too fast. That honestly sounds super fun. That sounds really energetic. Huh? For pulling the train? I thought you bucks pull the train. Yup, we do. Then... well, cause the engine don't work without coal. Ain't got no coal. Ain't got no coal car, even if we had it, so instead we use pony power. That didn't make any sense. So the engine is to pull the train, but the engine can't pull the train, so you all have to pull the train and the engine? I had to be missing something. Yup. Okay. Then why don't you have any coal? Where's the coal? The train pony rolled his eyes at me. Oh, there ain't any coal in Equestria. I felt something in my head snapping. All the coal's in a far, far away land. Then how was the coal supposed to get here? By train, of course. Gosh, dude, this is so counterproductive. Ugh, that was it. I needed to stop learning about trains. They hurt my brain. This conversation had made the pounding in my head much worse. Splashing through puddles, Calamity trotted back. After the train pony had gone back to his work, Calamity reared up and waved his forehooves around, making a mock spooky face. Ooh, all the coals in strange faraway lands? Full of zebras. Ooh. I stared at him Nonplussed. Done what? He dropped back to standing and pulled a tin out of his saddlebag, offering it to me in his teeth. I levitated close for a look. The tin had scratched out picture of a zebra on it. Those what are in there are called party time menthols, brewed up using menthols and, well, some other stuff. Guaranteed to make you the life of the party. Those things will clear up your hangover, clear up your head, and make you the smoothest talking pony in all the wasteland. I looked dubious, but then I trusted Calamity. And what did I have to lose? Telekinetically opening the tin, I pulled out one of the little squares inside and put it in my mouth, chewing experimentally. I had to admit, they were tasty, although the aftertaste was kind of bitter. But I didn't feel any different than Whoa! The whole world shot into stark focus. Colors became brighter and more pleasant. Even the rain seemed nicer. And my thoughts? I was thinking more clearly than I ever had. I was figuring things out I never could before. By Celestia, where had this wonderful stuff been all my life? I felt confident figuring out just what I needed to say was going to be easy. I could talk any pony into anything, and I was about to prove it. Folks, they just got the forever weed menthols. Wow. I stream regularly, not every day. I might stream something after this, we'll see. But we are going to read like 2 to 3 chapters here, so this might be a while. Hours later, I stared out the window of my passenger car, watching the landscape roll by, or at least as much of it as I could see considering the sky had darkened and the rainfall had escalated again. Remembering rivulets running down the cliff face near Stable 24, I prayed the storm wouldn't cause us trouble when going up the mountain. Talking the train ponies into waiting for us had been easy, making up for the crash when that party time menthol wore off, leaving me feeling half blind and horribly stupid without its help. It was all I could do not to eat another right away. In fact, I would have done so if Calamity hadn't snatched the tin away. Even now I cast furtive glances at his saddlebag. Huh. Ugh. Think of something else I tried turning in the DJ Pon 3 station. It was barely audible through a haze of static. New Appaloosa, I figured, was near the edge of good reception. I tried another station on my pitbuck and found the music of the Sprite Bots. Calamity told me to turn it off. Staring out the window again, I found my mind drifting until it settled on, of all things, Ditsy Do. I was wearing my utility barding, now upgraded to be effective armor thanks to the strange but cheerful Pegasus Ghoul. That poor pony, I thought, seeing her home obliterated and then turned into a rotted mockery of a normal pony and made to live with that memory for centuries. Raiders, slavers, she'd suffered at the hooves of both of them. Actually seen things that horrified me to contemplate. And if that wasn't enough, as a ghoul pony, it was as if she had a magical sword hanging over her brain, waiting to drop. It was amazing that she wasn't a broken wreck of a pony. I remembered her smile, wondering how she could be helped happy. And then I got it. Calamity asked, "What's got you smiling like that all of a sudden?" I chuckled at myself, shaking my head. Laughter is a virtue. What now? Oh, I smiled, holding back a laugh of my own. Maybe not giggle laughter, and definitely not bwahaha laughter, but the kind of inside laughter that allows a pony to take everything this world shows at her and not lose joy. Maybe it was a little stretched to call that laughter, but it was definitely a virtue. I turned back to the window, my own spirits somehow higher than they had been in days. Lightning flashed outside, I gasped, jumping back from the window. I could have sworn I saw the head of a giant pink pony, the size of an Ursa Major, peering at me over the hilltops, grinning. Uh-oh, I don't like that. Is that a giant head of Pinkie Pie? Oh, man. That's crazy. You ready? Calamity shouted through the downpour. The train was approaching Appaloosa. Old Appaloosa. Calamity and I were standing on the rain-slick roof of the passenger car, wind whipping rain into our faces and pulling at our manes and tails. I nodded. Wrapping his forelegs around me, Calamity stretched out his wings and caught the wind. The storm snatched us up off the train, and Calamity began to steer us towards a ridge that overlooked the slaver town. The wind buffeted us, making me fearful that we would crash, but Calamity's course stayed true. We landed, and I immediately slipped and fell in the mud. Calamity barked a laugh. I shook really hard, flinging at least half of the mud onto him, and then laughed too. That is kind of funny. But then we stopped, virtue or not. There was a time and a place for laughter, and this wasn't it. I floated my binoculars over to Calamity and then pulled out the sniper rifle to peer down its scope at the collection of dilapidated wooden buildings, derailed boxcars, makeshift metal structures, and slave cages that made up old Appaloosa. The train was just pulling in. Between the darkness of the storm and the distraction of the train, there would never be a better time to sneak in. Through the sniper scope, I could make out the silhouettes of guards walking along catwalks that ran between the buildings and above the cages. In the cages, I could see slave ponies laying under the pouring rain, forlorn shapes in the storm. I felt a familiar pistoness taking hold. Uh-oh. Calamity, you stay up here. I'm heading down in. I didn't come all this way to stay back. I levitated the sniper rifle to him. You're my cover, and my quick exit if things go bad, unless you think you'd be better at picking those locks, and I'd be better at flying you out. He clearly wasn't happy, but conceded my point. Pulling out little Macintosh and checking to make sure it was loaded, I started down the slippery ridge. I didn't want to have to use the gun. Not that I was feeling particularly live and let live about slavers. It was just that for all the things, little Macintosh was... It wasn't quiet. I was most of the way to the first set of cages when a flash of lightning illuminated the landscape starkly. If it hadn't, I would have been dead a moment later. As it was, I was merely screwed. Mines. All around the cages, the fucking slavers had scattered mines. The rain had washed away the dirt covering some of them, the orange metal casings reflecting the flash of light. There were surely more, but I had no idea how many or were. After my session with Crane, I was much better at self-levitation, but that only got me to the fence. I was far less confident that I would have the power to levitate all the slaves to safety. Hey, who's there? The voice of the darkness, the slaver pony. I wasn't the only pony to have seen something in the flash of light. Damn it. I scooted, moving as stealthily as I could. I hated to leave the slave pens, but I needed more time. If I shot, I'd bring the whole place down on me. If I tried to take out a slaver pony with my hooves, I knew he'd be able to call for help before I took him down, so instead, I decided to hide, slipping into the nearest shack. I immediately regretted it. The shack was only a few rooms, and from the one upstairs, I could hear what I really hoped was two slaver ponies going at it. Oh my. I felt both embarrassed and disgusted. Wow. Oh my goodness. Trying to not make a sound, I looked about for a place to hide. I didn't want to be standing right inside the door if that pony guard decided to take a peek into the shack. I also started peeking into boxes. I knew this was stealing, not just scavenging, but those ponies stole other ponies, so I didn't figure they had any standing to complain. Whoa! Whoa! Quite the lore bomb here! With screwdriver and bobby pin, I didn't even spare the lockbox I found in the next room. Sitting inside, I found something unique. A little totem, a statuette of an orange pony with yellow mane and tail. Poised in mid-buck, what struck me was the 3 apple cutie mark, identical to the mark on Little Macintosh. I floated it close to read the inscription on the base. Be strong, and felt a surge of magical energy. I'm not sure what it did, but I actually felt stronger, not just physically, but in confidence. Slipped the statuette into my saddlebags. I finished my looting and the door banged open. There you are! I whipped around, sliding into the comfort of Sats, and fired 2 shots into the pony, one in the head and one in the chest, before he could reach me to pummel me with his spike-shod hooves. Uh-oh. The sound carried immediately. The ponies above stopped there. Oh my gosh, it came charging down the stairs. One of the men stopped and grabbed a fire. Blam, blam, blam! Little Macintosh roared like thunder. The slaver pony with the gun never got a shot off. I reloaded as quickly as I could. Luna, damn it, while I was in it now. Gosh. Dang, dude, that was... Oh, man. That was freaking hilarious. That was super funny. Fire blasted past me as I dove behind a rock. A flamethrower? That fucker was attacking me with a flamethrower! Oh my god. Oh, I smell roasted pony for dinner, snarled the slaver with the flamethrower battle saddle. How about a little barbecue? I was seriously hoping he was just being awful, that these ponies weren't so depraved as to actually eat other ponies. Lightning flashed, thunder boomed above me. I ran for the cover behind a crazy tilted boxcar. Flame whooshed out behind me, catching my tail. With a yelp, I thrashed at a nearby puddle with it until the flames disappeared. Ow, ow, ow! Come out, wherever you are! Cringing back, I brought out the combat shotgun. Little Macintosh had finally run out of bullets 5 dead slavers ago. 2 of those had been unicorn slavers wielding shotguns, and now I was in no danger of running out of shotgun shells anytime soon. The flamer slaver stepped around the corner and got a faceful. He went down hard. Swiftly, I took what I wanted from the body, leaving the battle saddle behind him. I had neither the natural aptitude nor the professional training to use a battle saddle, and I didn't need that kind of weight slowing me down. I looked around nervously for my attackers, including the pony with the flamethrower and the 3 back. In the first shack, I'd put down a total of 9 slavers. A lot, but by no means a town's worth. I was surprised that all the gunfire wasn't drawing a lot more attention. The thunderstorm might account for much of that, and these guys seemed to have a level of stupefying ego that prevented them from just running to get more help. But there had to be more at play than dumb luck. Dumber slavers and the weather. Battling the slaver guards was pushing me closer to the huge, multi-story barn at the heart of the town. There was a lot of light pouring out from the windows and a lot of noise. As I drew closer, I could hear music. I checked my pip-buck, but old Appaloosa appeared out of the range of every station except one, the Spritebot station. How that station covered every place, I had no idea, although I suspected the Spritebots themselves might actually be acting as relays too. This music, however, was not that music. Going in the front door would have surely been death, but creeping up the catwalks to a second-floor entrance proved safe. I tried to slip in quietly, but the moment I had cracked the door open, the wind flung it wide with a crash. I cringed, then poked my head inside. The room was empty, of ponies at least. It was crammed with broken furniture and old filing cabinets. Bottle caps, ammo, and packages of cigarettes were in several of the cabinets. They found a new home in my saddlebags. I didn't smoke, and had no intention of starting, but I could sell the packs to Ditsy Doo, who would resell them to the surprising number of, and opened it onto a balcony. From there, I could see the Manticore's share of the room was wide open saloon, packed with ponies who were drinking, gambling, and watching the performance on a stage directly below me. The balcony ringed the saloon, and there were guard ponies walking around it in a pattern. They were focused on the chaos below and hadn't spotted me yet. Wait, I recognized that voice. Crouching flat on the balcony floor, I poked my head over the edge to see the singer, Velvet Remedy. By the way, folks, Velvet Remedy is the escapee from Vault Stable 2, which is where Little Pip came from. This is the person that escaped. My gosh. Footnote, level up. New perk, Mighty Telekinesis, level 2. You triple the math that you can levitate with your unicorn magic. Effects are cumulative with Mighty Telekinesis level 1, which is required in order to take this perk. Wow. So what everyone think about chapter 6? That was interesting. I had a couple funny moments, I gotta admit. I'm interested to see where this next part will go. So I wonder if Velvet Remedy was captured by slavers. I don't exactly know what happened, how Velvet Remedy got here. For sure, I don't think Velvet Remedy would have volunteered to just be a singer here, right? There's no way. Somebody smart gave them the code to escape the vault, and Little Pip followed after him. So that's interesting. Alright, let's check out the next chapter. Chapter 7. Velvet Remedy. Oh, dude, no, this is 45 chapters. You know what amazes me? Yeah, chapter 39. 30,000 words. 30,000 words. They only get longer. 10,000 words. Yeah. They're long. Chapter 7. Velvet Remedy. They actually consider us gods, but then who can blame them? Her. She was still as beautiful as the first time I saw her. It had been the birthday party for the Overmare's daughter. Velvet Remedy had come in to sing her a stunning revision of the happy birthday song. I had been painfully jealous of the filly for weeks after. Actually, she was even more gorgeous than the last time I saw her. I'd follow her into this wasteland to see her now, against this backdrop of rusted metal, old hardwood, bloodstains, and liquor. Her song, so clear and majestic through the din of lowlifes, made her breathtaking in comparison. My heart fluttered like a butterfly trapped in a jar. Part of me wanted to run to her. Part of me, small but insistent, wanted to be furious with her, to blame her for getting me involved. It didn't matter that the only pony who forced me out of that stable door was me. My eyes flickered back to the guards making their rounds. Even if they weren't looking in my direction in moments, they wouldn't be able to miss me. Following either cry of my heart was out. Instead, I scooted back silently and retreated the way I came. This threw a new wrinkle in the plan. Now, getting Velvet Remedy out of captivity was my highest priority. Not to suggest the other ponies in those cages were any less important to me, but something personal had been added to the situation. In my head, I entertained the thought of her, now happy she would be to see me. The moment I stepped outside, I knew that I was in trouble. Multiple slaver ponies, lantern poles strapped to their backs, were standing out about the corpse of that flamethrower bastard I put down. The wake of my activities was not going unnoticed or ignored. Hold on, I have to cough. Okay. I put down, the wake of my activities was not going unnoticed or ignored. For the ponies, those most lightly armored, turned and ran towards the huge central barn. I pressed myself against the wall. The alarm was about to go up. A single gunshot rang out through the storm, and the lead pony dropped from 2 bullet wounds. 2 of the 3 runners skidded to a muddy stop and dove for cover, trying to spot their attacker. The 3rd kept running. He nearly made it to the barn, close enough that the barn door was splattered with red when Calamity took him down. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Bro, Calamity's being a sniper right now. That's so cool. Oh, I love that. Most of the 4 were heavily armed slavers, spotted Calamity on that last dive and began firing in his direction, but he was fast. The lightning was bad, and I had not been impressed by the aim of slavers yet tonight. I was pleased and utterly unsurprised when the hail of assault rifle ammo came thrown in Calamity's general direction. Missed my companion entirely. Most of the 4 more heavily armed slavers spotted Calamity on that last dive and began firing in his direction. Wait. I read this. Whoops. I have to go here. My coughing is not getting any better. But now these 4 were working in a group, moving towards the barn while covering each other, denying Calamity any safe vector of approach. Moving quickly, I raced down the catwalk and towards one of the old half-collapsed wooden buildings surrounding the mega barn. Combat shotgun reloaded and ready. It was locked. I spilled several bobby pins and almost fumbled the screwdriver in my haste. The lock was stubborn and tricky, and every failure was making me more jumpy. I desperately wished I had another Menthol, preferably of the party time variety. The bobby pin broke. Behind me, the noises from Central Barn changed drastically. The singing stopped, and the drunken hollers were replaced by authoritative shouts. Frantically pulling out another bobby pin, I tried again. I could hear the barn door swing open, ponicidal slavers tearing out into the storm, cries for blood. Oh my gosh. Violence and death. It struck me like a blow to my gut that such vitriol was directed towards me. If these slavers caught me, I'd only wish I was a dead pony. The door's lock finally gave. Without a second to lose, I dove inside. Pow, pow, pow. 4 rapid shots with the combat shotgun and the slaver guards inside, gambling at the table covered in bottle caps and cigarette butts, went down before they had time to react to my presence. It only hit me a moment later that I had opened fire based solely on what they looked like, what they were wearing, and that they were armed in a place like this. Had I not just done, in essence, what Calamity did when he opened fire on me? Only I had murdered these 2, and even in retrospect had no reason to believe my admittedly fear-fueled instincts had been wrong. One of the dead ponies had a pair of manacles as a cutie mark, and the other had the keys, both to the front door and the cage that took up 2/3 of the room. My eyes widened at what I saw before me. This was not like the cages in the Ponyville library. There were no prisoners behind these bars. Instead, there were weapons and boxes of ammo, some stacked on top of other boxes of ammo. I was in the armory. Oh yeah, oh, it's about to go down, dude. Two thoughts raced in my head, my mind, each right on the heels of the other. I had just hit the jackpot, and this was probably right where most of the slavers were headed first. Swiftly, I turned and locked the door, then began to barricade it, not too heavily, as trapping myself in here was not going to save any pony, least of all myself, but it would give me time to loot and to consider my next move. A filing cabinet, the table, and the metal desk should do. Bottle caps and gaming chits? What's a gaming chit? I have no clue what that is. Slid to the floor in chaos. Chips. I get it, gaming chips. Held it in place. Then the desk was wrapped with a glow identical to that of my horn as I swung it around. The desk, I noticed, had a glowing terminal. Time allowing, it might be worth to see what it had to say. First, however, was improving my armament. Yes, the gaming chair. Absolutely love that. Gosh dang. Oh man. You know what? I can only imagine they were playing like checkers or something, or like chess. Checkers or chess, that is my guess. Gosh, this is fun. Yeah, dude. We all know Calamity has been playing lots of Fortnite. For real. That's not even a joke. 7 ammo boxes, half of them locked. 2 gun cabinets and weapons locker, also locked. Later, I was less like a pony and more like a walking arsenal. There were dozens of weapons, but all in such crappy condition that I was only able to salvage 3 useful ones, out of them including a needler pistol, the repair assist spell of my pitbuck allowing me to swiftly tear down the worst of the weapons. For the best of their parts, the weapons locker contained 2 battle saddles, both far too heavy for me to bother with. I now had ammo for everything, but little Macintosh, including weapons I had never seen before, such as spark packs designed for recharging magical energy weapons, and 3 missiles. It disturbed me greatly that the slavers had a small stockpile of missiles, particularly since neither of the battle saddles were built for them. But by far, the biggest prize in the lot had been neither a weapon nor ammo, but a set of schematics for creating a homemade gun that would fire poisoned needles. It would be silent, crippling, and I was pretty sure I'd seen most of the parts required back in absolutely everything. The slavers took little time figuring out I had barricaded myself in their armory. If that gave them pause, however, they didn't show it. Relocking the door had been a useless effort. The first pony to the armory had her own set of keys. The table, cabinet, and desk were proving much more worthwhile, and by the time I had finished repairing the weapons I was taking, they had finally ceased bucking their hooves at the door. I had no doubt they were waiting outside in quiet ambush, but that gave me yet a little more time. I used it to take a look at the terminal. Took me almost no time to hack it. The password was terminal. I was unimpressed. The first entry was ancient, dating back several years before the apocalypse. The others were all within the last few months. Holy cow. That is crazy that they have time to just pop open the terminal. I like think about like being in your bedroom or something, right? There are people, the FBI are like trying to break down your door. Meanwhile, you're sitting in your little chair like all right, I'm just gonna read this real quickly. Hold on, bear with me. Gosh, dude. That's fun. Alright. Entry 1. Had a surprise inspection from the Ministry of Morale yesterday. We pretty well knew it was coming, and I'd been given instructions on what to do, but I couldn't believe how smoothly it went. We slipped them a small percentage of the special product, and they gave us clean marks? Even if they were dirty, I couldn't understand why they wouldn't bring the cage down on us and impound all of us for themselves. Seemed too good to be true, so I did a little digging, and a friend of a friend working over at Ironshod, who claims to have an inside peek, gave me this apple to chew on. According to him, the head mayor of Mom herself actually loathes the new contraband laws. And since Mom enforces those laws, that means all sorts of tasty zebra treats are slipping into Equestria right under the princess's nose. I figure this means as long as she says golden delicious, we're golden delicious, and even if the princess suspects her, and how dense would she have to not to, she really is the one pony that Mom can't bring up on sedition charges. Man. Entry 2. Finally whipped the crap from this terminal. Wiped the crap. 300 plus documents that I have absolutely no use for, and many of which it's probably best there not be a record of. All except that one damn file from forever ago with the weird ass flag on it that prevents tampering, and trust me, I've tried. Uh-oh, is that the Enclave flag? Don't know why we even bother keeping record of where we send the goods, since they're all going to the same damn place anyway. I don't know what the hell Stern needs all these slaves for, but unless she's building an army, whatever it is has one hellish rate of attrition. Boss is more worried about the attrition rate in transit. A third of these fuckers don't make the journey, and Stern ain't paying us none for corpses. I'm so supposed to figure out a way to keep the damn goods alive, at least until after Caps exchange hooves. Maybe a cocktail of drugs will help. Found a false floor last week leading into a buried boxcar, just full of the stuff. Entry 3. I finally convinced the boss that we need to start a little side business in the full mart. Oh my gosh. The young ones are easier to corral, control, and train. Sure, we have to play up the investment angle since they can't do the work of a normal slave, but there are plenty of ponies out there who see the potential. Unfortunately, Stern ain't one of them. That bitch has no patience. Wow. Turns out a mixture of buck and dash in small doses does mighty well in keeping the more worthless slaves from keeling over before they make Philadelphia. What happens to them after Stern gets her hooves on them ain't none of my concern. Still got to talk to Whipcrack about going a bit easier on them though. No drug cocktail is going to prevent a pony from being lashed to death. Might suggest swapping out which slaves are pulling the wagons a bit more often too. Entry 4. The cells in the old sheriff's station have been perfect for full holding. The settlers of Appaloosa might have constructed a lot of this place with an eye to speed over lastingness, but they sure knew how to make a holding pen. I'd even say that the new cells in there are a close second in the list of stuff I'm glad they left behind when they all kicked the bucket. Next to that apple pie recipe. Turns out gathering foals has made hitting isolated homesteads a much better risk. The parent folk have a tendency to get annoyingly shooty when we come to claim them, but they also take such great pains to keep their little ones out of the fight that even if we have to kill off all the adults, we still make a good profit. Goodness gracious. Entry 5. What a fucking cock-up. A whole shipment, 2 wagons worth, slaughtered. Best we can figure, they ran into a stray hellhound. Damn taint fucks everything up. Now I hear that Stern is sending a special representative to take a look-see at our operation. Sounds to me like she's planning on taking over. I think she's in for a Facebook surprise, and the special representative? Best watch her tail. Got a new herd of foals ready for breaking. Raked in the caps with the last batch. Another benefit of dealing in foals, you only have to kill one of them in front of the others to take the fight out of them. Oh my gosh. Yikes. Entry 6. The last week has been beyond words. Stern was playing it close to her chest with that special representative business. I never had any idea. Let's just say I was shaking in my shotting when our new boss heard about some of the stuff I'd been saying back when we didn't know her. But I guess it's easy to be misunderstanding when you're connected to the divine. Besides, we still have what's left of the old boss as a reminder that the new boss's hooves ain't soft. The new acquisition is going to do wonders for keeping the slaves up. Good thing too, since the new boss don't cotton to the buck and dash trick. Fortunately, I was able to convince her that was Applecore's idea. Poor Applecore, never saw it coming. All hail the living goddess. By the time I was done reading, I could have set the town on fire with the heat of my seething. Mentally, I was adding the full cages to my objectives list, where it fought with Velvet Remedy for first place. Emotionally, I was seething. I didn't want to be hidden away in a barricaded room anymore. I wanted to go out there and hurt some fucking evil ponies. Dude, this is Negan's time. This is some Walking Dead Negan type crud going on here. It's time. Sometimes the wasteland listens to what you want and gives it to you with all four hooves. I'd barely backed away from the terminal, stomping around angrily as I tried to gather enough focus to move the desk, when my barricade exploded inwards with a fury and shrapnel. Blood and agony burst from my body as I was thrown back against the wall. My head slammed into the armory cage, and for a moment I lost consciousness. The slavers had launched a missile at the door. Oh no. Oh no. Oh man. No wonder why there were no rocket launchers in the room. They were all outside the room. Oh man, that is crazy. Oh, this is also a short one. Trembling with shock and pain, I greedily gulped down another healing potion. Already my wounds were closing. Like a ghoul? Calamity had me left foreleg in place so the gash that nearly severed it could do its work. Oh, wait, what? I greedily gulped down another healing potion. Already my wounds were closing. Calamity held my left foreleg in place so the gash that nearly severed it could do its work. The wound was beyond... How did Calamity get down here? Even with the potions, I would be lame until a real medical pony could treat it. Candy seemed horribly far away, and that was assuming that even had the skills. Fortunately, Calamity calmed me. A missile-launching battle saddle takes some effort to aim correctly, meaning that any pony, short of a true expert with the things, would be planting herself for each launch. And that made her an easy target, almost too easy for a shot like Calamity. So Calamity shot it? What? When I could stand again, though, still wobbly, I hastily filled Calamity in on what I had discovered. He gave me an appraising look as I danced around, saying anything about Velvet that would lay bare my heart, then thankfully trotted back to take a quick peek at the battle saddles. Neither, he declared at a glance, was sufficiently similar to his own to even raid for spare parts. We didn't dare spend any further time in the armory. The slavers would be back any moment. We decided to split up. I would look for Velvet Remedy while he hightailed it to the sheriff's office, where he would scout out the place and hopefully take out any guards. I would meet him there, soon to unlock the cages, but until then, he could rally the foals, or at least give them hope, and the first friendly company since being captured. Slipping out, we parted ways and slid into the storm. The slavers missed us by seconds. Wow. Woo! So did Calamity shoot a rocket at the door, killing all the raiders, and then went inside? Is that what I'm understanding? I quickly slid the boxcar door shut behind me. Outside, the bright rectangle of light I had opened shrank and vanished back into darkness. She was here. It's about time. Her tale was to me as she faced a wall with 3 yellow boxes arranged so their butterflies were in a triangular pattern. I can't very well do any good sitting in here. She had turned a glance towards me and stopped. Now she turned slowly towards me, staring. Oh no. For the last half hour, fantasies had played through my head, imagining the expression on her face when I found her, the surprise, the joy. This wasn't either. Oh dear. Her eyes traveled from my face to my stable 2 utility barding, still quite recognizable, even with Ditzy Doo's improvements. To the pit buck on my foreleg, Velvet Remedy looked shocked and sad. What are you doing here? She asked with a breath. I stood tall. I followed you out of the stable, came across the Equestrian wastelands to find you. I'm here to rescue you. I gave her my best winning smile. Then, worrying at how I might have sounded, I added meekly, I'm not stalking you. Aren't you now? She shook her head and pranced around almost as if distraught. I tried so hard to keep any pony from following me. This isn't what I wanted at all. And then she looked at me again, and this time I could tell she was seeing the wounds and the weapons. You're the one out there shooting up everything. You are, aren't you? Wait. Why was I suddenly feeling like I'd done something wrong? Yes, like I said, I'm here to rescue you. Rescue? Little Pip? Oh my gosh, she remembered my name. I'm not a prisoner. I'm here on my own volition. What? What? You're here with slavers. I couldn't tell which was breaking faster, my head or my heart. You're working with slavers? She stared at me, her voice cool. And you're cutting a bloody swath through them. How many ponies are dead tonight because of you, Little Pip? They're slavers. I was breathing hard, seeing red. And how about the people they support? This is a town, Little Pip. There are merchants and tavern owners and work ponies here. Have you killed any of them? Are you sure? No, I haven't, I'm sure. Well, unless some of the townsfolk wear slaver armor and carry slaver guns and were shooting at me. And the slaves? Do you think you can kill slaver ponies and they won't retaliate? Do you think they wouldn't take it out on helpless ponies to make an example? Not if we rescue them all first, I thought savagely, but instead of arguing further, I forced myself to be calm. This was Velvet Remedy. I'd give her a chance to explain herself in as even a tone as I could muster. Why? Velvet's Remedy's voice never raised nor wavered. I was near shouting, and she was keeping her poise. It made me want to scream even more. When I left the stable, after leaving a message to keep any pony from following me, she gave me a pointed look. I came upon a band of ponies who had been set upon by a horrific beast. There was only one survivor. Badly wounded, missing a leg, so of course I galloped to his leg. Did you know I always wanted to be a medical pony? I bound his wounds and carried him back to his camp. It was a slaver camp, and there were several ponies there who were in severe need of aid, particularly amongst the captives. Velvet Remedy looked about the boxcar, which I began to realize was not her cell, but her room. I've been with them since. I just stared. But you're helping slavers! Dude, I don't know who's dumber. Velvet Remedy or Velvet Remedy? Like, for real, what the heck? Velvet Remedy turned away from me, staring at her wall of yellow medical boxes with pink butterflies. Casually, as if talking about the weather, cloudy with a chance of rain, gunfire, or bloody dismemberment, she told me, I read in a book once, back when I was about your age, that when Fluttershy, the mayor of the Ministry of Peace herself, stepped onto a battlefield, she insisted that her healer ponies tend to everyone wounded on the battlefield. Everyone. Pony, zebra. To her, it didn't matter. She turned a level gaze at me and slowly asked, How could I do any less? It's different. Oh, she challenged. How? Because these are slavers who are killing people and selling others into slavery and death, even fools. And the zebras just wiped out our cities. I stomped at the ground. Okay, maybe I didn't have any logical reason why this was any different, but it felt different. Look, I tried reasonably. These slaver ponies, when you save one of them, you're making it possible for them to hurt and kill other ponies, destroy lives. The slaves you heal, they're being sold into horrible work that ends up killing them. The slavers are just using you so those poor ponies survive the trip into hell. Velvet Remedy looked pained. You don't think I know that? But what else can I do? I'm just one pony, and I will not do nothing. Would you have me just trot away from suffering ponies because they have the misfortune of being captive slavers? Now finally I felt the ground reassert itself beneath my hooves. You can help me rescue them. She chuckled sadly, shaking her head. Rescue them? The two of us? Against all those slavers? She looked me over. Not that I don't doubt your resolve or your firepower, but we would be horribly outnumbered. I could feel myself grinning. I'm not alone. We have support, and he's a Pegasus. One Pegasus, though. Dang Calamity going in for it. I could feel myself, yeah. Her resistance was crumbling, but still she shook my head. Even if we did, then what? Did you also bring food enough for the slaves? Water? We are many days' trot from the nearest friendly settlement, and many of the poor ponies I have been tending are in no condition to make such a trip. Some of them are fools. Her gaze traveled to my lame leg, and her eyes widened. Oh dear, she pointed at Forhoof, and it doesn't look like you are in any condition to either. If we had a few hours, I could tend to that, but... She sat back, her voice full of regret. Oh, I admire your bravery and sacrifice, but Little Pip, did you really think this through? Of course I thought it through, I stammered. A little crossly and mostly honestly. I have a train. Oh? Her eyes widened with surprise, and for the first time her voice was hopeful rather than hurting. That might work. Dang. Wow. Goodness gracious. Now that they mention train, it's all hunky-dory. Alright, let's see what happens now. They have Velvet Remedy acquired. New item unlocked. Calamity stood guard atop the sheriff's office as Velvet Remedy and I made our way to the cells inside. Nearly half a dozen colts and fillies, reeking of filth and sorrow, looked up at our approach, their eyes fearful. That fear softened as they saw Velvet Remedy, and she smiled gently at them in return. I have good news, little ponies, she said softly, hesitating with a grimace before stepping over the headless bulk of one of the guards. Calamity had cleared the way. We're all going on a train ride. Oh yeah! I was already at work on the lock of the first cage. I glanced over, admiring how she was with the foals, nuzzling them through the bars. She had been, I could tell, the one good thing in their bleak, awful lives here. My eyes slid down to her flanks, noticing with amusement, not for the first time, that she had two medical boxes strapped to her side as saddlebags, only now realizing that the scarlet and golden streaks in her hair and tail had suggestive similarity to the pink and yellow that I now associated with the Ministry of Peace. Also, why didn't I think of that? Those metal boxes would provide better protection and added armor for the flanks as well. The tumblers slid into place, and I pulled open the cage. The little ponies inside looked at me with mixed expressions, joy, hope, and fearful reluctance to let either into their hearts. "We got incoming," Calamity's voice broke through the sounds of the rain. "Whoa, little Pip. We got trouble. Big trouble." Velvet Remedy shot me a worried expression like the hope I had built up in her was shattering. Moving deftly, I snuck up to the nearest window and looked out. 2 ponies were striding up towards the sheriff's office, clopping through the small river that the street used to be. A third watched over them from the top of a boxcar, then leaped down to walk between them. The 2 on either side wore heavy battle saddles, but it was the figure in between that caught my attention. Hold on, I want to check the music here, make sure it's still running. Uh-oh. Looks like an ad. I don't want an ad. An ad. Hold on. There we go. I want the music. She was tall, her body exuding graceful malice and strength I'd not imagined in any pony. In truth, she hardly looked like a pony at all, from her hooves to the long spiral horn on her head to her wings. A winged unicorn! Awestruck, I drew on the only figures like this in my memory. Celestia? Luna? Uh-oh. 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 Uh-oh, who is it? Awestruck, I drew on the only figure. Yeah. The voice of the mysterious dark mare carried majestically through the torrent. "We will give you just one chance to come out. Do so, or we will bring the whole building down on your ears." My mind reeled. I felt my hooves stepping forwards, pulling me towards the door, but I stopped as I looked onto one thing my heart insisted to be true. Neither Goddess Celestia nor Goddess Luna would support such horrible ponies. Whoever this creature was, she did not deserve my reverence. My atheistic friend on the roof had a moment of pause. With the yee and ha, Calamity dived towards the enemy trio, firing twice. 4 bullets struck home, and the pony to the left of the not a goddess fell with a splash, blood washing over the strange mare's hooves and down the river that was Main Street. The strange mare responded with a whinnying laugh that had no gentleness of soul. Such impudence! I gasped as the mare's horn glowed a sickly green and a blast of lightning. Is it Chrysalis? Lightning ripped from its tip, slamming into Calamity's chest, throwing him back through the sky. Calamity. I focused desperately, my own horn glowing. Calamity was spiraling down unconscious, and I barely caught him in time, holding him hovering over the minefield that surrounded the slave pens. His eyes blinked open, then widened with terror as he saw the mines below him, as hooves thrashing in panic as he tried to backpedal through the air. Oh no. Oh, now. Isn't that touching? The mare turned to the slaver pony, still flanking her as I glided Calamity to safety. Kill her! The slaver pony trotted forward. The many barrels of his battle saddle pointed at the aging, weather-weakened wooden structure. Behind me, I heard Velvet Remedy telling the foals, "Lay flat, all of you, as low as you can." I turned to see her waving her horn at their cells, and I marveled as a weak shielding glow wrapped about the cells. Only belatedly did I realize Velvet Remedy had not thought to place herself within the spell of protection she wove around the children. The roar of the slavers' battle saddle was nothing like the thunder of other guns, but akin to the fury of dragon. Bullets tore at the side of the building, a great many punching through, a perforating the front of the sheriff's office. I dove to the floor behind a metal desk, feeling bullets slice the air just behind me, and then ring against the metal as they tried to murder the desk. I heard Velvet Remedy cry out. I heard her fall. The roar paused as if the battle saddle needed to catch its breath. Jumping up from my position, 4 hooves on bullet-riddled desk, I stared out the window and focused. The glow of my horn matched the glow around 1, 2, 3, 4 of the mines. I pulled them from the mud and carried them towards our enemies. As the minigunner reloaded, the strange mare saw what I was doing, throwing up a wing and enveloping herself with the sickly green field of energy, a much brighter and stronger version of Velvet Remedy's protection spell. The slaver pony turned towards the floating mines. That moment, they started beeping. He backed up, eyes wide. Beep, beep, beep. The strange mare's shield wetted with blood and organs. The spell had barely flickered at the force of the onslaught, but it had flickered. That was almost impressive, she drooled. But now, playtime is over. I wasn't paying attention. My eyes were only for Velvet Remedy, who lay in a winding pool of blood. 3 of the bullets had struck her. 1 only grazing, but 2 sunk deep into her belly. As quickly as I could, I opened one of her medical boxes and pulled out a roll of medical bandages. The door of the sheriff's office ripped off its hinges and went sailing into the darkness. "Go ahead," she taunted. "Throw your best spell." No spell came. I had none to throw at her. "Oh," she laughed as if she had somehow read my mind. "No spells? Well, aren't you just a pathetic excuse for a unicorn? They have mind-reading powers?" I finished binding Velvet as best I could. She stirred, moaning in pain. My heart jumped. And here we were hoping that the great assassin who decided to assault our town would at least provide us with a challenge. We have been so utterly bored. I focused my horn, began to glow. Telekinesis again? Such a fool's game. She was trotting closer, but stopped several yards from the steps. "For the trouble you've caused us, and worse, for wasting our time with your patheticness, first we will kill your friends, then have them chopped up into a nice stew, which we— No! Not the stew! Not the stew! No! Not the stew! Not the flurry stew!" My horn glowed brighter. I was beginning to sweat with the effort. "No. We think we will instead feed them to the foals and make you watch." The glow of my horn flared, a bright overglow enveloping it. I began to tremble with exertion. Still not impressed. The strange mare's voice was glorious and impossibly jaded. The light from my horn was pouring out the doorway and through the bullet holes of the building. She couldn't have cared less. "So what's this? Levitating all the little ponies away? You can't send them far enough that we won't catch them. Or maybe you are trying to levitate every gun in the armory. Even if you could, the shield around us will stop any bullets." A second overglow erupted from my horn, enveloping the first. I screamed as the energies burned through me. The strange mare looked from one side to the other, turned in place to see if there was anything behind her, but noticed nothing but running water and darkness. Even up, but still saw nothing. "Oh, enough of this," she turned back to me. "You're right," I said, stepping feebly into the doorway, the effort draining such energy from me that I feared I would pass out at the moment. "I'm small, weak, pathetic." My crippled leg was wobbling so hard it made my teeth chatter. My eyes teared from the pain. I kept my head low, horn to the ground, almost looking worshipful. I am a sad excuse for a unicorn with no spells but the fool's cantrip of levitation. Without raising my horn, I looked into her eyes. This close, my light bathed her. I could see that she was not actually black, but dark forest green in coat, with the mane streaked in green and purple. Okay, well, this is different. but I've gotten really, really good at it. Again, the mayor looked around casually, trying to guess what I was up to, but I could see just a touch of apprehension in her bored expression. Well, maybe you are not worthless after all. Give yourself to us. Join us in unity. Become something greater than this wretched thing you are now. A third layer of brilliant overglow erupted from my horn. The light was blinding. My lame leg gave out agonizingly and I dropped to one knee. No! Rearing back with disgust, the mayor demanded, "Oh, what are you doing?" I heard Calamity chuckle nearby, "Keeping you from casting a shadow." What? The mayor looked down, then up a second time. This time seeing the much softer glow coming from above the sheriff's office. A moment later, the slightly gliding boxcar drifted over the roof and stopped above her. Her eyes went wide with the comprehension as I let it go. She dropped a frickin' boxcar on her. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Oh no. Oh my goodness. Holy cow. Just reading comments real quick. Oh my goodness. I'm amazed. They dropped a boxcar on them. Nobody ever expects the boxcar. Wham! The massive waves splashing out from the impact bowled me over, getting into my nostrils and lungs. I coughed, gasping. I tried to get back to my hooves, but exhaustion smothered me and I passed out. Footnote: level up. New perk. Organizer. You are efficient at arranging your inventory in general. This makes it much easier to carry that little extra you've always needed. Items with the weight of 2 or less are considered to weigh half as much as you. Goodness gracious. What do y'all think of that chapter, huh? That was something. Gosh, that was a fun one. That was interesting. So Velvet Remedy is unfortunately not doing so good right now. Gosh. We will read one more chapter. Bro, what good is magic when you have boxcar? Oh man. Let's see how long this next one is. Let's see, we are on 7. Okay. Yeah, the next one's a little bit longer. Oof. Gosh, they only get longer. That's scary. It makes me wonder how I'm gonna start reading these. Alright. Oh my gosh, the title of this chapter is so perfect. I'm talking to you folks right now. Chapter 8 derailed. Something tells me this isn't a circus act. Folks, this is live. I'm talking to you right now. That's why I'm not typing, because I'm actually talking to you. I'm actually reading this as we speak. Chapter 8 derailed. Something tells me this isn't a circus act. Blood. It washed around my hooves, splashed against my legs, carried by the river that was Main Street. I was standing in the middle of the river, and it was full of corpses. How many ponies have you slaughtered? Asked Velvet Remedy's voice accusingly. It sure didn't take you long to become a mass murderer, did it, little Pip? Velvet? I looked for her in the storm and the blackness. Instead, my eyes found only the bullets savaged wall of the sheriff's office. Crude spray paint covered it, shouting blasphemies. Raiders had been there, their sickening hoofwork, sadistic mutilations on display for every pony to see. I watched as the pony torso that dangled from the ceiling inside, its limbs hacked off and coat shaved to the skin, heave against its chains and fall to the floor with a meaty thud. I tried to scream as it began to crawl towards me, with the wet rending the splayed body on the wall, its flesh flayed back to show off its ribs and rotten organs, ripped itself free and slowed towards me, splashing in the water. I tried to back away, only to find my hooves mired in the muddy street. The crimson ichor in the water coated my pit buck and sunk into my coat around my legs. Calamity? Velvet? Help me! I screamed, but my voice carried no sound. A silent Spritebot watched, doing nothing, as the lower half of a slaver pony joined the things that crept maliciously towards me, a long rope of intestines dragging out behind me. Oh my goodness. That is crazy. Okay. I awoke, my heart thudding hard and my body covered in cold sweat to the sound and shake of the train. I was weak but warm and less achy than I had any right to be. I was laying in one of the beds on the train's passenger car, a blanket over me. Besides me, Velvet Remedy was waving her horn tenderly over my recently crippled leg. To my amazement, my leg felt mended, if deeply itchy. I tried to shake the specter of my nightmare. This was not the first sleeping terror that my experience outside had spawned, but this has been the most deeply unpleasant. The incorporation of my companions, or lack of them, somehow made this dream far, far worse. Velvet Remedy, the last I had seen her, she was fallen in a pool of her own blood, having saved nearly half of a dozen foals. My ears perked at the sounds around me. Looking over my shoulder, I saw the colts and fillies from the sheriff's cells taking up much of the passenger car. They looked weary and beaten. 2 of them were fast asleep, but one had enough cheer to look at me and grin. That was awesome. The colt waved his hoof slowly through the air, then stamped it down with a clop. I gave him a weak smile, my heart finally beginning to calm. Calamity turned from staring out a window to welcome me back to the land of the living. We're okay? I was hesitant, half fearing that this was just another dream waiting to become a nightmare. Velvet Remedy nodded reassuringly. The slaves? In the caboose, Velvet said softly. Less softly. This train only has the one passenger car, and I felt the foals needed the space more dearly, so as either the caboose or strapping them to the flat car. Oh my. Speaking as though I would have suggested something awful was not, I decided one of her more endearing personality traits. Suddenly I remembered my original plan and the locked pens that the pony captives had been caged in, but the locks? I knew Calamity could not have picked them, and I couldn't imagine Velvet Remedy in her own youth having plied that skill. She rolled her eyes at me. Oh, come now, I'm not the locksmith you are, and I certainly do not have the level of telekinetic mastery that you showed. Most impressive, I should add, but I am a unicorn. I can do basic levitation. Between your missiles and the mines, I was able to bypass the need for lockpicks or keys. The train rumbled around us, glancing out my window. I saw that we had already traversed the desert and were clearly well on our way up the mountain. The pace of the train ponies was slowing. We were getting close to the peak point of the mountain track. My conversation with the Velvet had lulled, and now Calamity disrupted it completely. Our shadow's back. I pulled myself into a sitting position, testing my mended leg. Shadow? The cult who spoke up earlier declared, "Mr. Calamity, thanks. Something is following us." I nodded. I noticed Calamity was crouched to the window, looking upwards through it, towards the sky. Another. I kept myself from saying goddess in reference to the winged unicorn slaver I had battled. One of those, like the sheriff's? I don't think so, but there's a something up there keeping just one out of sight. If it's out of sight, how do you know there is anything there? Velvet countered. But at Calamity's look, she relented. Another Pegasus, perhaps? Calamity grimaced. Really don't think so, he returned, his gaze to the window quieting. At least it has stopped raining, Velvet Remedy announced, looking out the train. That storm lasted for days. I turned and looked out at the thick gray cloud cover. The water had indeed stopped falling from the sky, and the clouds were much lighter color, turning the sunlight a drab gray. Velvet, I started. She smiled at me, and my heart soared. Her previous grating remark instantly forgotten. Thank you, little Pip. Your bandages saved my life. I looked at her, knowing that there was no way those poor excuses for medical aid, magically treated you or not, could have brought her to health. I started to say as much, but she lifted a hoof to interrupt. No, but you managed just well enough that I regained consciousness, and from there, I could take care of you. She cast a sidelong look towards Calamity, not to mention you and that interesting friend of yours. Calamity nickered in her direction. Snickered. I stared at my leg, surprised. Grinning Velvet reminded me. I did tell you I'd always wanted to be a medical pony. I studied for it, and even apprenticed. I looked at the beautiful mare, many years my elder, curiously. If that's what you wanted, why didn't you? Because my cutie mark showed up one day. I sang a song for it, an ailing, gentle pony, and it appeared. A songbird, a nightingale to be precise, and when your cutie mark appears, your place in the stable is decided. There was a sad matter-of-factness in her voice. It was a truth I knew too well. I even begged the overmare, but clearly it was to be my destiny, to be an entertainer. My fate was written on my flanks. My voice was the most beautiful in the stable, and I could not deny that I could sing, or that I even enjoyed it a fair bit. The overmare even showed me my genealogy, proving that I was the many times great-granddaughter of Stable 2's first overmare, who herself was also a legendary singer. I nodded, having heard the heart-wrenching music myself, while in Turnpike Tavern. How could I fight the weight of all that? The overmare, she graciously allowed me to indulge my hobby in the small times when it wouldn't interfere with my new duties of uplifting the stable's flagging morale. But my dreams, I was told, were not for me. Suspecting the answer, I had to ask the question, Velvet, why did you leave the stable? Velvet whinnied demurely. Again, because of my cutie mark. She turned, pulling away one of the medical boxes to show me the nightingale on her flanks, wings outstretched, beak open in song. Do you see what it is not, little Pip? I saw what it was, what it had always been. A bird of a beautiful song. It is not a bird in a cage, Velvet Remedy said, her voice pleased. And if it's not, then I was not meant to be either. Come horror or ill, I needed to be free. Dang, she's caged. Her cutie mark is a bird in a cage, a songbird in a cage, but she wants to be free. Wow. That is impressive. That is pretty cool. What are you all on about in the comments? Oh, y'all talking about AUs, I see. I see. Alright. I'm gonna take a walk outside, maybe stretch my legs. I looked up from the book I was reading to pass the time. Turns out, Equestrian Army today was all about battle saddles. The train was slowing to nearly a stop. The engine had already crested the peak, and the train ponies were drawing the rest of the train down over the lip and around the next bend before releasing it and jumping aboard themselves. So wait, is a battle saddle power armor? Am I thinking of that correctly, or is it quite literally just a saddle with, like, extra harnesses to carry guns and can control them? There wasn't going to be another chance to get some fresh air, or for Calamity to get herself a better look at our shadow. I nodded, bidding him go. Velvet Remedy was probably on her way back from the caboose. She had been making regular checks on the adult ponies who had rescued, and I was taking a quick trot myself once she was here to watch the foals. I waited time, seeming to have slowed to a crawl like the train itself. She was taking her sweet time. She had seemed possibly gotten lost. No, that was silly. You couldn't get lost on a train. Could you? I chuckled as I realized that if I ever got lost on the train, my Pitbuck's automap spell would guide me. Poor Velvet, however. She could find her way on a train without it? I'd offered Velvet Remedy her Pitbuck, but to my shock, she had refused it. I stressed how unbelievably useful a tool it was in the equestrian wasteland. She said I could keep it as a gift, and then as apology for having given it to me in the first place. She didn't blame herself for my leaving the stable, but she regretted having played a hoof, and truthfully, a whole pony in my decision. I tried one last time, and she had finally told me flatly, I escaped that prison. I will not wear its shackle, no matter how gilded a shackle it might be, and that she had left to check the ponies in the caboose. I was brought out of my reverie by a draconic roar of minigun fire, followed by the death screams of the train ponies. A mere second later, I heard the switch pulling team, who were currently acting as guards, open fire in return. The foals began to panic. I was attempting to calm, or at least corral them, when Velvet Remedy returned through the back door, looking worried. At nearly the same moment, one of the train ponies from the switch team burst in, shouting and waving his paws in lever action shotgun floating at his side. Slaver ambush! Protect the children! Oh gosh. Slaver ambush! Protect the children! Wait, how could they have gone ahead of us? Before I could ask, a grizzly pony wearing slaver armor, spiked hooves coated in the blood of the train ponies, broke into the passenger car and reared up, intending to end the life of another. I didn't have time to think. I just drew my assault rifle and fired at him. The train pony ducked his own gun, swinging around and unloading into the slaver. I couldn't tell whose shot felled him. Flashes of my nightmare came back to me. I hesitated, but mercifully, only after the attacker had been taken down. Then with a stomp, I activated my EFS and watched the flurry of red marks fill my forward compass, milling around the few friendlies that were in front of me. I turned to Remedy, levitating out the needler gun that had fitting into the marked clip. I had not been able to determine what the markings on the needle clips stood for, but I suspected any one of them would at least capable of incapacitating. Take this! Guard the foals with your life. I'm going up ahead. Better to take them down before they get back this far. If I could. My gosh, the ponies are so noble. The trained ponies are so lovely. I love them. I support them. They're dumb, but they have heart. I turned to Remedy, levitating out the needler gun and fitting it with a marked clip. I had not been able to determine what the markings on the needler clip stood for. Would be at least... okay, no, I'm sorry, I read that already. Oh. Velvet Remedy stared at the needler pistol as it was diseased. I couldn't. Oh, for Celestia's sake, you have to. You're not going to survive out there if you aren't willing to fight back. I pointed towards the foals, and neither will the ones you're protecting. Velvet gulped. I mean, I don't know how. Oh, it's easy. Float it up, pointing this end at the bad guy to shoot. Pull this little lever back. That's the trigger. She nodded, then looked to me as if hoping I would offer another option. I'm not a killer. I don't think I can. Learn to. It was a harsh, even brutal thing to say, but this is the Equestrian wasteland. Oh my goodness. I'm shaken. Maybe I've been talking for too long, or this story is getting really good. Oh my gosh. Can somebody Google for me if a battle saddle in Fallout Equestria is power armor or not? Oh, it's a saddle with a gun, double gun attachments. Well, it depends on the saddle they're using. Every saddle can hold different guns. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, this is a good time for the kids to learn how to fight. Arm the children. Okay. Okay. With a gun attachment. Okay. Let me just take a drink break real quick. Folks might not realize it, but this is the same equivalent as an exercise and workout for me. No, not power armor. Okay, no? Okay, you know what? I might just have to take matters into my own hands. People can't seem to decide and agree. But I'm taking it's just a saddle with weapon attachments and crud. I'm thinking it's just a saddle with like extra harnesses and can hold extra guns or something. Heavier guns. The train slid down the track, picking up speed, but still slow enough for the motley force of unicorn and earth pony slavers to leap aboard. The two earth ponies with the minigun battle saddles had torn through the pulling team, shredding the poor ponies into red meat. The barrage of return fire had slaughtered them in return. I stood my guard on a boxcar, several cars forward of the passenger car that had held Velvet Remedy. Word vomit. Velvet Remedy and the foal's assault rifle at the ready. My EFS compass was so full of red ahead of me that it was impossible to track individual opponents. Part of me wanted to attempt parlay, if only to avoid the growing pain in my consciousness. Dude, y'all remember Captain Jack Sparrow going, parlay? Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't... What was her chick? What was the girl's name? I already forgot. Take me to your captain or something. I seriously, some quote like that from Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't remember the girl's name. Sorry. I know she's main character and all. Ugh. But that was out of the question. No, any pony attacking the train went down. It was with this intention firmly planted that I opened fire on the first slaver to jump her way onto the boxcar ahead of me. My shot went wild, and she jumped back. Jumped down, my bad. Damn it. I heard an explosion above and behind me, casting my eyes to the sky. I saw Calamity dodging and weaving through the air, a griffin in hot pursuit. The enemy aviator held a brush gun, a much nastier firearm than any I had seen so far, had occasionally slowed his pursuit of Calamity to fire a shot. Calamity, bless him, was not making himself an easy target and costing the griffin distance with each failure. As I watched, Calamity suddenly swooped upward, pulling a full loop, and to my dismay, the griffin matched his move, looping slightly inside his own to close distance with me yet again. I heard clopping coming closer as I turned my attention back to the boxcars ahead. I saw nothing. Confused, I took a step towards the edge, looking down to see if there were racing up along the ground, only to find 3 slaver ponies along the side of the boxcar passing me somewhere. Oh my gosh, a slaver unicorn was wielding them with spells. A magic glow held their hooves to the side of the moving train. This is violent. I growled, feeling what is it with the freaking raiders and that like being their default? Oh my god, like ERP is the first thing the raiders think of. I growled, feeling incensed at the magic trickery, and swung about the assault rifle, firing right into their hindquarters, flanks and neck as they raced down the next boxcar towards the passenger car. 2 ponies screamed as they fell from the train, mortally wounded, one breaking his neck in the fall. But the third made it to the gap between cars before I could bring my weapon to bear him. The train was moving at a fair clop now. I raced along the roof, jumping to the next car and skidding to the stop. I looked down between the cars and quickly pulled my head back to the slaver, spotted me, and fired at a mouth-held submachine gun into the air where my head had just been. Focusing, I pulled the wide-eyed slaver up and out of his hiding place. Then something hit me from behind, sending a stripe of searing pain up my back. I dropped him, the damnable lucky bastard, falling safely onto the roof floor. Just across the gap, I was surrounded now. The pony I had missed before had come up behind me while I was focused on this new one. A whip clenched in her mouth that she wielded with hellish accuracy. With the crack of her whip, she knocked my assault rifle out of the air, the weapon sailing out over the cliff face. The track was skirting. The SMG slaver had taken my moment of surprise to reload. A new grin in his mind. He had already killed me. Another explosion from above, and 2 bullets ripped through the slaver, felling him. His body SMG still clenched in his teeth slid of the boxcar. A moment later, Calamity swooped low over the boxcar and banked sharply, his hooves scaping along the cliff that rose up above us. On the other moment of the train, the griffin swooped over the train in pursuit. I ducked. The whip pony wasn't quick enough and got clipped by one of the griffin's wings that hit cleanly, decapitating the slaver pony. I felt my heart skip a beat as I saw blades that adorned the forward edge of the griffin's wings. Uh-oh. Scooping up the decapitated pony's whip, I kicked the rocking head off the head of the train. I curled the whip into my saddlebags, brought out my combat shotgun, and moved, first to one side of the boxcar, then the other. The spell the slavers would use changed the situation dramatically, and I was painfully worried about how many had gone past me before I wished up to it. Further up the train, I heard more gunfire as the remaining train ponies fought for their lives. During the train, I thought I heard Velvet Remedy scream. I turned towards the sound, my hindquarters to the front of the train, when something thumped hard somewhere towards the front of the train, and then the train gave a shudder as its wheels crunched through a body that had fallen down onto the tracks. Oh no, they're shooting the ponies pulling it. Calamity landed deftly beside me. I stood at him in surprise, and he seemed to blush as he hoofed at his mane. I'm afraid Razorwing couldn't join us. He refused to get off of my tail. Even when I swooped between two of the cars, Calamity smiled, looking around as trying to find us missing friend. I swear he was right behind me just a moment ago. I smirked, then pointed a hoof towards the passenger car. Go help Velvet. Oh my. Calamity nodded and took to the air, not even needing to fly, as the now galloping train brought the passenger car right to him. I saw him disappear into the gap and far of it, then the galloping to the aid of the train ponies. As I did so, a frightened voice in my head asked me what was my life had become. What was I becoming? There were so many ponies who wanted to take my life, and that I was charging towards them. Oh my goodness, holy cow. I need to take like a 2-minute break here real quickly. Just so I can like breathe. And read comments. Some of y'all make me laugh. Sorry folks, I'm just taking a breather here. I have like real, like bad arm shakes going on right now. This is literally an exercise for me. Sorry if I'm not saying anything, folks. I'm just catching my breath. For some reason, my arms are shaking. So, we're just taking a breather here. Yeah, I'm fine. So I have a couple guesses on why this is happening. Either I'm talking too much too quickly, because I might just be exercising my throat right now. You know, this takes energy to do. So I could be tiring myself out, or something else. Or it's improper nutrition. One or the other. We were fine when we started. I don't know. Taking a breather here. So, let's just, while I take a little breather here, what do you all think of the story so far? Yeah, this is strength training. Oh, for sure, it's definitely brutal. It's based off of Fallout, after all. Do not drink pool water. Unfortunately, we gotta finish this page before anything else. Okay, I'm gonna read this one a little bit more casually. The last survivor of the train ponies and I raced across the rooftops and dived down into the open door of the passenger car as the twin beams of pink magical energy zorched the sky, fired from a white unicorn raider's battle saddle. The train pony who had been with us seconds ago was now nothing but sparkling pink ash blowing away at the wind. The passenger car was empty, sort of. The body of a black-coated slaver hung from the ceiling, filled with needles. The spell on its hooves was keeping it from falling to the floor, even after death. It gave the earth pony with me quite a start. To be honest, I might have shrieked just a little too. I'll tell ya, I prefer slavers who shoot bullets, the train pony gasped, recovering. You can't wrap a bandage around being turned to dust. I quite thoroughly agreed. Velvet Remedy ran in through the back door, coming off the flat car behind. Seeing the train ponies, she motioned for her to head behind her. Please go to meet up with Calamity. He's at the caboose. We've got a nasty one on the way, I warned her. And another 4 coming behind her. I think these are the last of them. But one is using a battle saddle with magical energy weapons. Velvet Remedy nodded warily, then looked up and pointed at the corpse above. This one came in on the roof. Like an insect. She was clearly shaken, more at having to take life than the strangeness of the circumstances, but I suspect she couldn't bring herself to focus on that. Not yet. I began to wonder if her occasional unpleasantness wasn't part of some coping mechanism for dealing with the horrors of the equestrian wasteland. The earth pony trotted past her, reloading his weapon and bucking the door closed behind him. Hold on, folks, got a phone call. Alright, we are back. The last survivor of the trained ponies and I raced to the rooftops and divided down into the open door of the passenger cars. The twin beams of pink magical energy scorched the sky, fired from a white unicorn raider's battle saddle. The trained pony who had been with us seconds ago was now nothing but sparkling pink ash blowing away in the wind. The passenger car was empty. Sort of. The body of a black-coated slaver hung from the ceiling, filled with needles. The spell on its hooves was keeping it from falling to the floor, even after death. It gave the earth pony with me quite a start. To be honest, I might have... Shoot, where was I? I've read this whole page. Oops, my mistake. A minute later, Calamity galloped up, every pony in the caboose, and I've kicked it off. The slavers won't begin to them from here. He lowered his head and stomped at the floor. Here's where we hold the line. There was no time for discussion. Calamity had barely spoken his intent when 3 slavers, led by a unicorn pony, came into the car at us. Not from the front or behind, but through the windows. The passenger car exploded into violence. Sats locked onto the slaver coming through the window on my left. At this range, I could hardly miss. Unfortunately, neither could they. Velvet Remedy's horn glowed as I fired into the chest of the first target. Once again, his armor stopped, much of the damage, but I knocked him back. His own shot grazing my cheek. I turned to the second, but not quickly enough to stop him from swinging his magical enhanced sledgehammer right into my rib cage. That pain was blinding. I could hear ribs snapping under my armor. Good gosh. My squeal of pain did not stop him from bringing down a second blow across my back. Ditsy Doo's armor dissipated the blow across my body, saving me from a broken back and a very short, paralyzed life. Calamity had fired off a double shot from his battle saddle, tearing gaping holes in one of the slaver ponies coming in from his side. Bloody innards splattered across the bed, wall, and window. The last win for Velvet Remedy. Oh goodness, why wasn't she wearing armor? I watched in horror from the floor as the slaver sank his combat knife deep into her shoulder, barely missing her back. Blood gushed around the blade and turned her charcoal coat a wet black. Her spell imploded, the magic radiating from her horn, fading away in an instant. I started to get up, crying out again as bright agony slashed through me with fiery fingers. Me targeting spell was still refreshing, but my first opponent had already recovered and was bringing his gun to bear. The pony with the sledgehammer swung again, intent on pummeling me into submission, the submission of a corpse. Calamity fired. The armor that had spared the slaver from the combat shotgun was not equal to my companion's powerful rifles. The slaver who had stabbed Velvet grasped the hilt of the knife in her teeth, intent on pulling the blade out of the wounded singer, but Velvet's horn glowed once again, a telekinetic light enveloping the knife. It was simple, weak telekinesis, holding the blade, but it kept the pony from sliding out the blade as easily as she had expected, and that briefest pause gave Calamity enough time to turn his barrels on her. He fired again, and Velvet was splattered with wet bits of other pony. I was in so much pain, my vision blurred heavily. I was caving trouble, drawing breath, but at least now I thought hopefully only 3 on 1. But as the slaves raised his sledgehammer over my head, the door burst open. The white unicorn standing just outside the door opened fire with pink magical energy. With a flash from my horns, sledgehammer pony found himself pushed away, becoming an impromptu shield. An eye blink later, he was glowing pink dust. Now it really was 3 on 1, and while I had fight through my pain to fire, my targeting spell had finally returned and Sats guided my shots, and Calamity needed no aid at all. Oh, man. This is intense. For the sake of my well-being, I'm going to look. So we are... Endings down here. I'm right here. Okay, I'm almost done. Velvet Remedy's horn glowed as she slowly mended my several broken ribs, jumping slightly as the train gave a buck. The pain in my side had reduced to a throbbing bad enough to wring whimpers from me. Really, little Pip? This is becoming a habit. Her own coat was matted with her blood. The last of her healing potions had been consumed, and she and I were the last of our bandages. Only Calamity had made it through virtually unscathed. The slavers lay dead about us, save for the one who had pummeled me with a sledgehammer. His body had been vaporized, turning to glowing ash. I recoiled at the thought I might have bathed in some of him. I turned away, staring at the floor. Though we had won, it didn't feel like a victory. Instead, I felt that I had half a dozen trained ponies to their slaughter, and in the end, I had failed in the fight as well. If Calamity hadn't been with us... Reading me was far too easy. Velvet Remedy tried to soothe me. At least you got that one with the horrible sledgehammer. All I managed to do was be a target. You are doing more than you share with your healing skills and mending spell, I pointed out, adding, although I'm surprised you didn't stay with the freed slaves and foals. Velvet Remedy whinnied. That caboose was far too crowded as it was. If I'd have to try to force myself in there too, some pony would have suffocated. She finished tending my wounds, frowning at the increased shaking at the train. Scenery flashed by outside the window. Yup, Calamity returned to us, making his way through the rattling train. Looks like this was the last of them. The train groaned dangerously as it tore around a corner, forcing us to catch ourselves. Velvet looked between us with an alarm. Don't either of you ponies think we're going awfully fast? How does this train of yours slow down? We have the brakes. And where are they? In the caboose? Velvet's ears dipped back as she stared levelly at Calamity. The caboose? That would be the big red car at the back, right? The one you just kicked free of us. I felt a surge of panic. Calamity grimaced a little. Yup, pondering. You know, that would explain the look the train pony gave me. I begin to see how you got the name Velvet, said flatly. Several minutes of confirming our situation and arguing what should be done followed us to the train continued to race down the mountain out of control. Soon, the three of us were bracing ourselves against every turn. We were still only halfway down, sheer cliffs flying by on either side. In the caboose, I decided there was only one solution. Calamity fly. Velvet remedy to safety. Velvet's eyes widened. But what about you? Resolutely, I stomped on the ground, trying to ignore the twinge on my recently mended leg and ribs. I'll be fine. I figured out another way. The two of them looked dubious, but they trusted me. So with a nod, Calamity and Velvet made their way to the nearest flat car. And I'll be waiting for you, Calamity promised as he spread his wings. The wind tore Calamity and Velvet off into the air. And then I was alone, on a runaway train. Okay, I thought to myself. Now it was time to actually think of a way off. The train charged forward towards a mountain curve, hitting it far too fast. The train tilted. I could feel wheels coming off the tracks. My horn flared with power, cold sweat breaking across my already too abused body as I poured telekinetic power into holding the train on the track. The whole train groaned feebly as it ripped around the corner, cantered crazily, riding one of the side of its wheels. With a squealing thud, the train righted itself on the track, already headed towards another turn. This one throwing the train's weight against the rising cliff pony. The rock wall raked at the train, gouged at boxcars, and rending most of the roof of the passenger car with a resounding roar. I clenched my eyes against the storm of the splinters. When I opened them again, wind was buffeting me fiercely through the gaping wound in the train car. I could see another turn ahead, this one even sharper. Trembling with exhaustion, I knew there was no way to prevent the train from leaping the track this time. I focused again, dreaming I could levitate myself to safety. Groaning with the effort, I felt my hooves leave the ground just as the engine car hit the curve and snapped around it. The massive weight of the train could not follow. With a horrific screaming shudder, the jackkniffing train tore from the track, soaring out over the mountain cliff like a snake with a broken head and plunging towards the valley over 1,000 feet below. With all my remaining focus, I pushed myself up and away, lifting out of the open roof. But it was not enough. I was still falling, and fast. My efforts only slowed me enough that I got to see the train fall past me, diving past into the dead forest below with an almighty crash. The destruction below me was like a hoof of Luna against the land beneath. Great clouds bellowed up, obscuring the wreckage that I was about to splatter against. Alright, last part. Last part! The three of us, Calamity, Velvet, and I, trod through the narrow valley under the gray clouds above. I had no idea where we were, save that New Appaloosa was many days' travel on my Pitbuck's map. Assuming we could travel in anything close to the straight line, assuming we were headed there at all. Based on the terminal entries, the slavers of Old Appaloosa was selling the bulk of the ponies they captured to some pony named Stern in some place called Philadelphia. I had not lost my rage at what I had read, at the wicked and cruel things these ponies were doing. I kept it a low simmer at the back of my mind. If I had my way, Philadelphia was next, but I could not ignore our more pressing concern. We were in desperate need of medical supplies. Likewise, the food and water Calamity and I packed was insufficient to support 3 ponies for several days. We needed safe shelter and resupply. Once together, we had rested for several hours. The 3 of us had been through a harrowing battle, and it would have been insane, if not impossible, to press on without giving ourselves time out. In truth, we needed much more than we look. I myself was so weakened by my extreme feats of telekinesis that I found myself unable to levitate even something as small and relatively light as Little Macintosh. But the unfamiliar and possibly hostile environment did not encourage delaying. The valley was strewn with black dead trees and bits of debris, not from the train whose crash was still miles behind us. These told of the devastation of the Equestrian apocalypse. Fallen sky chariots and similar vehicles marred the land. According to Calamity, we were below the outskirts of what had once high above us. Been the Pegasus city of Cloudsdale, now there was nothing up there above the clouds, and on the ground, the only grave marker for the sudden ending of the many ponies' lives were scattered wrecks of Pegasus vehicles that had been too far from the city to be instantly consumed, but not far enough to save those pulling them. Inappropriately upbeat music, heavy on the tuba, floated like a siren song through the valley. My ears perked, and I began galloping towards the source, my surprised companions scrambling to follow suit. "Little Pip," Velvet gasped. "What is it?" Calamity was no less confused. He knew the sound of a sprite bot, but could fathom no reason I could be in such a hurry to catch it. Reaching the sprite bot, I enveloped it with my magic, dragging it to the attention before me. "Watcher!" Calamity landed, looking at me strangely. Velvet, considerably further behind, dropped to a trot as she saw no sign I was in immediate danger of being crippled yet again. "Watcher!" I shouted, crossly, giving the energy. Annoying sprite bot a firm shake, as if doing so would shut off the music and summon my cryptic acquaintance. "Watcher, I know you can hear me. I need your help." "Little Pip," Calamity began slowly. "I don't think..." He stopped, eyes wide fearfully as the music ended in a mid-song pop and the sprite bot spoke directly to me in a voice he had never heard come from a sprite bot before. Hello, little Pip. How can I help you? The tinny artificial voice addressing me clearly spooked me, my wasteland-experienced companion, quite deeply. I need you to send a message to New Appaloosa. I waved a frantic hoof. There's been a caboose headed down the mountain without a train. The train pony inside will make it sure it reaches the bottom safely, but there are lots of ponies inside, including 5 young ones, who cannot survive out here on their own. New Appaloosa needs to send wagons to get them. Watcher was silent, hesitant. Watcher, they're not in good shape. They have no food and water. Time is of the essence. Watcher spoke slowly. I don't know, little Pip. I'm not in the habit of... I don't care, I shouted crossly. You care about those ponies, don't you? Do you not see those foals die? No, I mean, yes, I care. No, I don't want to. Then get help. You don't have time to indulge your shyness, Watcher. Lives are at stake. With the pop, the Spritebot saw continues. I released it, unsure whether to feel relieved or disgusted. Little Pip, Velvet snickered, I'm guessing, clapping up to me. If you keep ordering your friends around, you'll soon find you don't have any. I frowned, reminded suddenly of my friendless nightmare. Calamity gave me a look that suggested she might be right. Velvet kept walking, and I fell in line behind her. Footnote, level up. New perk, light trot. You are agile, lucky and always careful. Or maybe you have just mastered the art of self-levitation. Either way, you never set off enemy mines or floor-based traps. Well, everybody, that was Fallout Equestria chapters, I believe 7 through 9, or 8 through 7 or something. Man, wow, that was crazy. Don't worry, folks, we'll do this again another day. I, however, like most AUs, need to rest. I am exhausted. So, folks, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.